Hey guys, I'm RozaldVaneGAME, and welcome back to another episode of A Case of Distrust. This may be our last episode, I don't know yet. There's not a lot more left to go on or get through. I think that we already kind of found who our killer is, and that is Mrs. Green, in assumption-wise. Because we already found two things, which is the motive and the means. We just don't have the opportunity filled out completely, though we kind of do have a tinge of what it is, opportunity-wise. We just need to figure out what that opportunity is completely, and then we should be able to accuse her with necessary information. So let's go and ask the people who work at Tinspoon about the back exit, so we can fill out that opportunity sort of thing. I have a source that tells me there's a back exit to the Tinspoon, I said. Know anything about it? Back exit? No, I'm afraid I've never heard of such a thing. Okay, so he hasn't heard about a thing. That's kind of weird. Maybe asking about the missing gun to Carter. I showed him nothing. Okay, it's just basically nothing's happening there. Knows nothing about the back out. Sheesh. So that means that there's two individuals who are not telling me about the back exit, which is weird to me a little bit. Alright, let's talk to Paul, I guess. Paul would be the only one I want to talk to first. And then I'll talk to Ella, because I think Ella should be saved for last, because she is at the location of the back entrance thing. So it makes sense that we would probably visit her last. And Paul would be the only one who can secure that back exit information if we can. Alright. Let's bring this up. Hurry up, buddy. Stable, there you are. Stable tells me there's a back exit to your joint. I put to him. Might you have escaped that way last night? Back exit. Paul asks. I don't know much about what medicine Stable is using, or what medicine he should be using, but I don't know of any back exits to the Tinspoon. However long I pressed him, Paul wouldn't admit there was any way out of the Tinspoon beyond the front entrance. Okay, so Paul has nothing. So that's going to make it even harder for me to even accuse Mrs. Green whatsoever. Alright, let's go to the Tinspoon Lounge ourselves. Yeah, because since Ella's there, it's just like it makes it more convenient for me to just look at the Tinspoon itself, just to see if there is a back entrance from there. Clear my throat. She stopped. Yada yada. Okay. Back exit. Seems like 3 out of 4 people do not know about this back exit for some reason. I have a source that says there is a back exit at the Tinspoon. What do you know about this? Ella nodded. Yes, we do have one. It's behind the women's changing rooms. I can't imagine any of the men know about it. They would never be able to get back there without causing a riot. But the girls use it whenever we need to slip away from customers who are, she paused, too eager. I'm trying to make the country accent come up, but her speeches for me is harder. Too eager. I'm trying to figure that out. It's hard because it's funny because I just went from a low pitch to a higher pitch. That's my fault. So there's a back exit to the Tinspoon that only the woman knows about. That's right, she said. Okay, that helps me with everything. Thank God Ella is the one that we needed to speak to. So the other two don't know about it. But Mrs. Green is the only one who should know about it, because there's no other ladies beyond Fanny herself or Ella, and Ella doesn't have much to say anyways beyond. That is hilarious that the only person who can only know about it is Mrs. Green. So this technically gives us the best opportunity because she disappeared around the time. There is a back door that only the female performers can use. Is that right, Mrs. Green? Oh, yes, she said. I think you're right. I stepped out at some point during that night. Mrs. Green admitted, sometimes a girl needs fresh air. But I could not have been gone long. I was in the billiards room most of the night. So Mrs. Green has no alibi at the time of the Connor's death. I noted that and continued to ask her other questions, which I want to accuse her now. I don't have any need to really ask for any question because she has all 3 points filled out completely. I'm accusing her. I thought of accusing Fanny Green of killing her husband. Accusing someone of murder was certain to agitate them. I knew it was something I should do lightly. I knew it was not something I should do lightly. They would refuse any further casual chats, but if I was confident that she had killed Connor, including knowing the means, motivation, and the opportunity for her to do so, then I knew I should accuse her. Let's do it. I'm probably gonna fail this really badly, but we'll see. Fanny Green, I started boldly. You killed your husband. A stillness permeated the room as I spoke my words. I can prove your means, motivation, and opportunity for the murder. Fanny's face contorted, like I'd first seen her in the Southern Coffee. She barked at me. What are you saying? I loved my husband dearly. How dare you accuse me of murder? She huffed her way out of breath, which gave me a chance to prove it. Motive. This really makes me think of it makes me feel like a little bit of Phoenix Wright. I've played a lot of Phoenix Wright back then. This is the motive, I believe. That you were close enough to Paul to take his gun. She screamed until she was blue, but I didn't believe her denials. An affair could give her enough motivation to kill her husband, and the access to Paul's gun would give her the means. I had proven Mrs. Green's motive. She was having an affair with Tiny Paul, which could have made her want to kill her husband. However, I'd yet to prove any means or opportunity. Which, let's go for the means now. Here. Tiny Paul's gun is missing, and he says only somebody close to him would grab it. What are you implying, Miss Malone? She questioned with a raised eyebrow. I again brought up her affair with Tiny Paul. She screamed until she was blue, but I didn't believe her denials. An affair could give her enough motivation to kill her husband. I showed Mrs. Green that Paul's missing gun could have been the murder weapon. Considering her affair with Tiny Paul, she would also have the perfect motive to kill her husband. I just needed to prove that Mrs. Green had the opportunity for murder. No alibi. You admitted to being gone for parts of the night, I told her. That could have given you the perfect opportunity to murder your husband. She huffed at that for a while, but it stuck. It was clear now. I put it to her. Mrs. Green, you're the only one of my suspects with provable motive, means, and opportunity for murder. You knew you had to leave your husband. You loved Paul, and, as often happens, you began hating Connor because of it. So you tailed him to see what he was scheming. Maybe he could sink his plans and have the mob do your dirty work. Then you met me. You learned your husband had been receiving death threats, and you knew that that was your play. If he died, police would blame it on the underground. So last night, after your singing, you called Connor to the Tin Spoon. You snuck out of the billiards room and the back way, taking Paul's gun with you. That's when you shot him. Give me a moment. I'm gonna pause for a little bit. I'll be right back. I want to check something first. Alright, I've returned. Sorry about that. Yeah, I just needed to do a quick checkup of something. Alright. So that's when you shot him. She looked at me hotly, about to burst, and then she sighed and stared down at her feet. She began to cry, however. Many opiates were running through her blood. They had lost all their effectiveness. I put an arm around her as she wept. Connor had made my life miserable, she said between sobs. Looking around this dump, that's how ruined I am inside. Oh, that manipulative little sneak. You're right, I hated him. It's why I started going with Paul in the first place. She balked at my surprise. Oh no, I never loved Paul. I wanted him to kill Connor. But after learning about Ella, she trailed off. Oh, how could I convince Paul if he loved someone else? I had no way of leaving Connor. I slumped back to misery. So she was basically stuck on the in between rocks. Like, she wanted to leave her current relationship to pursue a new relationship, but with that new relationship comes complication because one other person who works with her loves the same person, and so she didn't want to get in the way of that. So it ended up being a troublesome place for both sides of everything. So she didn't know what to do, so her only thing was to murder him so she can get out of that complication, which is sad. What about a divorce? I offered. Divorce? She screamed the word back at me. Connor would never give me that. They say we're emancipated. Sure, but we still need our husband's permissions to leave his home. I was the only good thing that bum owned, and he would never let me go. That's why I was chasing him yesterday, she continued. If I could prove infidelity, I'd demand a split in court. I got all excited when I saw you standing in your doorway, she started, breathing more heavily. I had to follow you to make sure, but I was certain I had my out. Only, she sniffed. Only, it happened. No, let me reread that part. I was certain I had my out. Only, she sniffed. Only, it happened you were above board. You were a detective, and I was still trapped. After we met, I came home to find Connor waiting for me. He said we'd be leaving for St. Louis. St. Louis. She took a gasp of air and continued. Leaving everything I'd known for a place I'd never been, with a man I didn't love. I couldn't do it. I told him that. And then he struck me. Oh, so he beat her up. Like, he just... Oh, domestic abuse. What a quick way of pushing her so far up the limit already. I think that literally was like a gunshot to him, basically. Like, it was the last straw that broke the camel's back for that thing when he struck her, basically. She wiped away her tears, and with them came her blush and thick camouflage powder, a liver-colored spot the size of a... Oh, so she had makeup to cover that bruise. Ooh, the size of a silver dollar showed on her cheekbone. He just marched out of the door, she continued through her waterworks. And I didn't even know what to do. And then you thought of Paul's gun, I concluded for her. That's right. Maybe Paul wouldn't kill Connor, but I knew he carried a cannon, and I knew I could get to it. So you took Paul's gun and killed your husband, I said. No, she said. No, that was my... Oh, no, that was her still. No, that was my plan, but She broke off her sentence with a sniff and started another. I went to Paul's apartment late in the afternoon and grabbed his pistol. Then I came back here. I sat in this chair, penning the gun in my hand, wondering if I would do it. That's when he came in. Your husband, I offered? No, a much kinder man. Oh, he listened so well, and I even told him about... She paused. About my plan. This other man, do you know him? You knew him, I asked. She nodded a yes. He said he understood everything. He said he could frame the murder. He said not to worry. He took the gun. Oh, she cried, but I couldn't let him go through with it, you see. That's why I left the tin spoon last night, to stop him. That was when I met Redstone Stable. Oh, so it was Redstone Stable who killed her husband. In response to my raised eyebrow, she explained, I only met him last night. I had no idea he would have had anything to do with my husband until this morning. The police told me at the station that Connor had suspected Stable. But I knew instantly that he was a terrible man. A woman's institution never lies. Stable talks like a snake and has the looks to match. So you were both searching for the same person last night, I asked. Yes, but he wasn't around, I think, she sobbed. I'm tired of this, I said. Who is it? It's the owner of that hat, she said, pointing to it. It's Franklin. Frankie? I asked. Oh my god. I hate this story. I'm sorry. I'm officially hating this story because it's like a plot twist to saying that the guy we've been always talking to was the guy who killed Connor all this time. But I mean, the reason why I know this a little bit, like kind of like a small foreshadow, is because Frankie knows the operation behind Connor's alcohol delivery stuff, his bootlegging, because he did say that he knows where that alcohol came from. It's not from Canada, so he said it was from here in California. So I was like, wait, what? How did you know? Like, after I pointed it out, how did you know that it was from here? So he's the only one we know resourcefully that understood where the alcohol was coming from. She continues slowly. Yes, he took the gun from me yesterday. I was too dazed to argue. Oh, that makes sense. That motive makes sense too, because Frankie fell in love with Fanny the moment she came into the bar, and he would do anything for her because of love. And just because of that quick glimpse that he thinks that he fell in love with her forever, that he was willing to kill Connor so he can get with her finally. And that is disgusting that he did that in such a quick moment. Like, such a small little quick moment. But I still need to figure out why he would do that, though. Nice story, I said. But you still fit the bill just fine. Phyllis, even if I had the gun, how could I know where to plant it? I only met Stable last night, and I knew nothing about him. Franklin had known about the gun. Oh, Franklin had known about the case from you. Isn't that right? But I didn't know he had the gun to begin with. Like, how the hell did he get... I don't know. You're only telling me this now. You're only telling this to me now? I asked. What's the big idea stringing me along? Phyllis, she said softly. Franklin did this for me. He saved me. If that awful man Stable has to take the fall, If that awful man Stable has to take the fall so that Franklin can stay free, well, she trailed off. I shook my head and looked at her. If she was telling the truth, Stable could confirm it. And if she was lying, I thought, if she ran? What if she ran? Sorry, I'm reading it weirdly. What if she was lying? I thought. What if she ran away? Well, she would get stopped soon enough. Good looks can be a curse, and it would be a cinch to snatch her. Besides, with those opiates in her, she would have difficulty standing, let alone running anyway. I gazed at her, and she understood that what I was thinking. I'll be right here, if you come back. I wondered why she would fabricate such a story if she knew she was stuck. Then I thought, what if it is the truth? I had to speak with Frankie. Okay. Stood up the chair, still stunned. I remember grabbing the hat and staring at it. Wait, I just clicked on the hat and it just teleported me here. All my actions from those moments blurred together. I only remember the thoughts of racing through my head. As I hailed the taxi for the Southern Coffee, I went over to the facts again and trying to deny them, but they all fit too well. Yeah, because he also has no alibi. And he has a motive. His opportunity is there because he's literally free from all this crime to begin with. And his means are already given because he literally met with Mrs. Green. So he basically takes the cake in terms of all the empty spaces that could be left out of the case. Frankie had been infatuated with Mrs. Green and he could have gone to visit her. He could have taken the gun. He knew about Stable from when I told him about the case, and he could have planted it at his racetrack. Those facts might be explained away innocently, but it was the combination. Frankie was the only person with means, motivation, and opportunity to kill Green. The other person who has the opportunity to kill Green. I stepped out of the cab, hoping Frankie could give me another explanation for all of it. I walked down the creek steps, that familiar basement smell added to the lump in my throat. Must have spent some time looking around the place, inhaling it. Eventually, my eyes fell to Frankie. He gave me his generous smile that I knew well. I pulled out the hat and showed it to him. This hat belongs to you. It belongs to you, I said in a flat tone. Oh no, I should say that again. Just read that again. This hat belongs to you, I said in a flat tone. Frankie gaped. If I had any doubts, that look erased them. You killed Connor Green. Frankie's next sentence was short, delivered after a sigh. I always remembered it. I can't lie to you, he said. My jaw began to quiver. either from sadness or anger. It was hard to be sure. Why get wrapped up in like this? I asked. Does that dimpled girl mean so much to you? Frankie shook his head. This'll be a long story, he started. I let him talk. As heated as I was, I had to know why Frankie would kill my client. Is that sheet, he mentioned to the newspaper flopped on the bar. 1887. The St. Louis Browns. My last good season. My career was ruined by Thomas Kidney. Wait, he's related to the gang from St. Louis. Holy hell. So he had two motives. St. Louis and the wife. Oh my god. Kinney was a mob boss, you see. He ran St. Louis politics, above ground and below. He was cruel to everyone, sure, but he had a special hate for blacks. In 1887, that hate came to baseball. One practice, a local kid comes up to the fence and calls Murray, our left fielder, over to him. He tells Murray that every Browns player has to sign on to a letter, which says that he refused to play against the Brooklyn Cubans, a colored team. The kid then runs off. We all knew who the orders had really come from. If I refused to ink it, Kinney's gang could run me out of the baseball or worse. But some of the best teammates and people I'd known over the years had been black. I was torn up about it. In the end, I guess I was just a kid who wanted to play. I didn't want trouble. I signed it with others. It was the worst decision I ever made. Malone, it's haunted me since. I started on the hooch, and I never played the same again. I kept listening as Frankie continued. I became the booze hound of St. Louis, and the dumps at every bar in town. But this louse had tales about old Thomas Kinney, and a way of telling them that kept the others interested. Maybe my rumors worked. Kinney lost the next election just a few weeks later. He died of tuberculosis. Kinney's partner, Tom Egan, blamed me for all of it. I knew I had to blow St. Louis, so I went to Philly, my hometown. I ran into my old pitching partner, Matt Kilroy, who opened a bar. He invited me to run it with him, as long as I stopped drinking myself. Under his eye, I made it. I got sober by working in a speakeasy, if you can believe that. I even married Kilroy's sister and became stepfather to her 2 boys. I was engrossed and continued to listen as Frankie went on. Well, by then, Egan had renamed the gang, and Egan's rats had spread east. They came for me one night, and I barely ducked their spray. Lucky a cop was near his beat, or they would have just circled around and finished the job. I had a great life in Philly, but I had to give it up. I couldn't put my new family in danger. I fled out west where I knew the rats didn't have a foothold. Philly was the second time those bastards ruined my life. I ended for him, and when you discovered that Green was part of Egan's rats, you couldn't let them ruin you a third time. Frankie laughed. No, Malone, I could have run easy. My life here ain't much. I have nobody here really, except you. Sure, I could have fled somewhere else, but it's you. Egan's rat won't leave an end loose if Green had reached St. Louis. They'd have come back and tied you up. I can run from town to town, but I can't make you do that. I was the one who told you to take the case, remember? I had to stop them from hounding the rest of your life. I stared at him without thought or emotion. He said, I did this for you. Oh, crap. So, basically, he killed Connor because he believes that Connor would go back to St. Louis to tell the Egan rats to hunt our character down, because they hunt anyone who gets involved with their own, sort of gang members, I guess. And so Frankie also got involved, so he's also being targeted as well. But in this case, it's not only him, it's also us that's getting targeted. Poetic, Frankie, I countered. But this only proves you had no faith in me, just like Green, who hired me because he thought I wouldn't see through his scheme, or his wife, who was hoping I would gum up the works for the police. You thought I couldn't hold my own? I'm just some flapper? Playing in a man's world? Is that right? Frankie shrugged. I just wanted to protect you. I can protect myself, I told him, and without any murders. He sighed. I suppose I wouldn't blame you for taking me in, he said. No, I won't fight if you want to drag me in the hall. But the police had stopped looking for a killer. If you let me, I'd keep running. It's up to you. Oh no, it's up to you. What's funny is that I don't hang around with Frankie that much to actually garner a full-on connection with him as a player. Like, I've only spent, 5 hours-ish with this character, or less than that at the very least. But I don't feel any care for the world if he's been arrested, but he needs to find justice in himself. A Case of Distrust. Okay, that was it. Okay, so I guess that was all it is. That's a little sad, though. Okay, it's just moving slowly, okay. Alright, well... Wait. Why is there people names with the character's name? Is it because they look like those kind of people in real life, I guess? Colin Roberts is Connor Green, I guess. Yeah, I guess they just use their silhouettes and then they just paint over it or, paint art out of it. Okay. Well... I guess that was it. I mean, we arrested him and that was all it was, I guess. I don't know. It's just... I like this game a lot. I do, but I think that the ending just kind of made it sour a little bit. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I'll give my thoughts here. It's probably not that much of a thought process because there wasn't too much going on beyond the story itself and the other stuff that's along with it. Yeah, we're barely hitting the 30-minute mark, which is good. Thank you for playing. Oh, it was a few mornings later that I received a knock on my door. A small man in a light blue uniform asked me to sign for a package and handed me an envelope and a brown box. I opened the envelope. Inside was a large looped writing of Mrs. Frances Green. Oh, this is Fanny. It was a long note spanning multiple leaves. I only skimmed most of it. She must have used every allegory known to man to apologize for her behavior in the case. She then claimed she was starting life anew, ridding herself of reminders of her late husband. Finally, she said she was sorry about Franklin and any part she played in his unfortunate actions. As I read the name Franklin again, a drop fell and smudged the ink. I wiped my cheeks before more drops could join it. Mrs. Green's note ended with the hope that this gift of hers would begin to remedy any grudges I'd had against her, though truly, I felt none. I turned to the box and removed one side of the tape from the cardboard and snapped the flaps open with a couple of loud pops. Rolled in a loose ball inside the box was Lewis's gray coat. I put it on and looked at myself in this mirror. Oh. I grabbed the lapels and pulled them tight. The trench coat suited me. I wonder how Green had gotten hold of it. That innocent question was about to lead to a lot of trouble. Master Sleuth, achievement unlocked. And that's the end of A Case of Distrust. Alright, but yeah, let's end it off with the thoughts, my whole thoughts on this game. Pretty short game. I truly appreciate that, that it is a short game. I mean, you can probably play this through in one sitting, but I like to explore a lot of the stuff that is given in terms of options, I guess, in a sense. I guess if I press continue, it'll probably lead me to the beginning of the story again a bit. But yes. How do I feel about this game? Oh, I see. So I can erase my progress here. Okay, that's not the point. I wanted to see if you could, I guess this is to get to the ending again, but it's find out what I would do if I chose the other ending, which is basically to not arrest Frankie, but no clue. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let somebody do it for themselves. I want people who are watching to do that for themselves to see what the other ending would have given them. So that would be a good incentive for those who wants to try. But yes, I really appreciate A Case of Distrust in terms of the UI. The UI system is really cool. I love it. It's really stylistic. It's really interesting. It tells the story really uniquely, and the story itself is written in a way that's almost like a book, but it's not really a book. I think that's the only problem for me in terms of that, is just the style of writing is interesting, but it's hard to do in terms of like a way to kind of read it off of line by line, because it's written in a way that's kind of like reading a book. But I don't think I dislike it. I think it's for those who like reading a book style thing versus having somebody who likes to do reading of like a playwright kind of thing, or like a play where we just read line by line of people speaking and stuff, and they would just have description of stuff for some things. But otherwise, I think that A Case of Distrust was really cool. It's amazingly awesome for doing that kind of stylistic run of things. And I mean, this is one of the many games that covers 1920s as well. I don't often play any games in that kind of time period, or there's not much games revolving around 1920s, I think. Besides Mafia, like 1, I think, has like 1920s on it. And I know this game is 1920s related now. There's very few other games that are like 1920s related. There's a lot of games who are like always revolving around like World War II or post-World War II, Cold War kind of feeling, or like modern day stuff, but there's never like enough to kind of cover past period of times, and much more like focus on accurate historical like events of the past. And it's always interesting to see this kind of thing where they dive into just like the world and trying to make it kind of feel close to what it was from back then. And I like the fact that it is kind of like trying to chase that noir feeling of like storytelling. But I dislike the fact that the story's ending was a little bit weird to me, because it tried to play a twist, but the plot twist feels kind of weirdly, awkwardly placed. I felt like it would have been better off sitting it at Mrs. Green's, because for me, I felt super excited. I was like, I found everything, everything's all gonna lead to this person. I kind of knew this like a little bit before the murder and everything. I was like, yeah, Mrs. Green's gonna be the one. And then you come to the point where you realize, oh, come on, really? So all this time, my excitement for this person I'm arresting has been retargeted to somebody else entirely, and it was somebody else we've talked to since the beginning of the game, and I'm just like, why? I don't know why you do that. It just hurt my emotion of like excitement for being able to figure it out for myself, when instead you remove that feeling of like, I think when they did the story part where they try to bring the player to understanding that they found the person that they're finding, they redirect it with a plot twist, and it removes all emotion of excitement. It removes all well, I mean, some people might be excited because they're like, oh, it's a twist, it's a plot twist, oh, it's a plot twist. But for me, I think that I wanted to feel that feeling of like accomplishment that I did it myself. But instead, they flipped the script and said that I didn't figure it out myself. We just made a plot twist that made that feeling of like I figured it out to something entirely different. To the developers figured it out, not you, not the player. The developers figured it out. They made the story to fit their narrative, and that, I don't know. It's a 50-50 of me feeling like, oh, that's cool, but it's a 50-50 of me saying that that's kind of crap, because I felt like I should have been the one who'd solved the mystery, not the developers. But it's hard. I think it's a hard way of doing it, because they want to make sure that it's something unique, but I don't think it's unique in a way that the plot twist gets me going, I guess. Yeah, and then the way they try to tie up the knot at the end as well, with Frankie explaining his background of what he did and how he relates to Green, was a little bit out of nowhere too. I just don't know. I don't feel like it would have been that interesting to add. Like, if they removed the Frankie portion and just said like Mrs. Green just admits to the crime that she was the one who killed Connor, I would have been like that's it. Like, that was all it is. Like, that's how I feel. But then no, it just chose to do the other wraparound, to kind of wrap around something that is entirely kind of feeling out of the left field kind of feeling for the game's storytelling. But otherwise, I think everything else, like the idea of doing note-taking and finding evidence and presenting them and presenting with new information off of these people, are fantastic. I love it. And it really feels like a real detective game that I typically would like to enjoy. I mean, I did say Phoenix Wright earlier, I think from the last episode or this episode, where you just present evidence after evidence to prove that they are guilty. But in the case of Phoenix Wright, it's to prove that they're innocent, obviously. But this one is more to prove that they're guilty. And yeah, it's just really, really awesome, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad that I found out, like, in one try, like, who the killer is and everything. And I'm glad I can find as much information as I can and stuff like that. Anyways, if you guys want to get this game for yourself to kind of see what the other ending looks like, I will put links down below in the description box down below for all the versions of the game you can find it on. I got it on Steam through the humble choice, but otherwise I'll put a Steam link, of course, to that game. If there's GOG or console versions, I'll probably put them as well if there is any. Otherwise, that's pretty much that for that description. If you guys want to check out other games that I've played that are like visual novel based or has some sort of storytelling narrative bits in it, I will leave that at the end screen, obviously, and all the other past episodes end screens would have something similar to that case. I did finish Eliza back then. What's funny is that I finished the episode, uploading the final episode of Eliza literally the day before this recording, so it's like, oh, okay. So now I'm finishing literally this game too now, so I know what's ahead for what I'm going to be recording next, but otherwise this is whatever this is. For A Case of Distrust. If you want to check out other videos, yeah, I already said the end screen. I also have many more stuff on the channel. If you guys want to check those out, just click on by to the channel. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining me for A Case of Distrust, a very short series. Not too short, but short enough. But otherwise, see you guys in another series or another game that I'm going to be playing. And hope you guys have a great, amazing day. Good night to everyone for watching this. Yeah, hopefully we'll find another game that's cool, like probably as cool as this one, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe we'll just have another game that's like something else entirely. I don't know. Just jump into any series. I'll be there. I'll be playing something. Otherwise, that's it for me today. Roz, out.